This is the 10th edition of Nairobi Design Week. And it's basically um, people celebrating design from all angles. There's a week-long festival happening at the waterfront in Karen, and this year the theme is "We Are the Ancestors," and that invites us to reflect on the legacy we're leaving through the things we build. So in today's session, in this webinar, as part of UX Kitchen, we'll be diving into designing the future, crafting AI's legacy, and that will be a conversation around what AI might look like in a decade and what role design will be playing in shaping that future. Just a quick intro about UX Kitchen as well, for those of you who don't know about us, but we're a community of design and UX enthusiasts with a mission to democratize design education. We often host events and meetups, networking sessions where experts can share their knowledge with our community. And we also help create content to help people learn about the UX process. Last year, we sort of branched out beyond digital in our conversations and sharing. We had fashion designers, tattoo artists, interior designers. And this year, we're kind of bringing it back home to digital and talking about AI and the future of design related to AI. So yeah, really looking forward to this conversation. Thanks again for joining, and I'll hand it over to Injuri, who will share some announcements.
Sure. We first admit people in the waiting room. All right, cool. So thanks, Rajay, for that kickoff. I'm really excited about what we're going to learn here today. As Rajay mentioned, we are in partnership with Nairobi Design Week, and we're excited to be a part of that effort that's been ongoing for 10 years. So today we'll be talking about AI and design. What does AI look like in a decade? What's the role of design in that? And we've carefully selected two speakers no, sorry, two topics. And then we have three speakers, okay? And we'll hear from them all, from Microsoft and from Moringa School. Cool. So some of the announcements I do have is our volunteers in UX Kitchen. You will see them on the chat or speaking to us today. And that would be Harriet, Hilda from UX Kitchen is volunteering for us. What our volunteers do for us is help with strategy, as well as coordination and facilitation, as well as social media. So they've done a lot to make this come together well. So just advertising and announcing that they will be a part of us today. We have Harriet, we have Nicole Farasa, and we have Joy Ann. So you'll see them during the call. So that's that. And then for questions, we will use the chat. So if you have a question, just type it on the chat and then someone will pick that up after the speaker is done. And then for the questions that we won't be able to answer today, we will add them to a Google Doc and we will share on email and on our socials. Cool. We are also recording this, so I'll be able to share this recording once we are done. All right, so I think let's kick it off and I will hand over to Harriet to introduce our first speaker of the day. All right, have a good time.
Thank you, Njiri. Hi, everyone. Our first speaker today is going to be Sharleen Mwadeghu from Moringa School. So just a little bit about Sharleen. She is a creative visionary, blending design, technology, and storytelling. Sharleen has a strong background in UX and product design and software development. She also leads collaborative projects that push boundaries of innovation. And now I'm going to invite Sharleen to take us through her presentation.
Thank you so much, Harriet. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here at this UX Kitchen webinar in collaboration with Nairobi Design Week. As you've heard, my name is Sharleen Mwadeghu, and I am a product design technical mentor from Moringa School. So today we're going to be talking about a very important topic, which is the intersection of AI and design, and how we can shape the future of AI and design. How do we challenge this, and how do we move forward? Just give me a moment to share my screen. hope that's visible.
Yep.
So we will begin this with looking at the evolution of AI. Of course, there was a world before AI, and here we mainly used physical methods to implement our designs, from the implementation of digital tools such as Photoshop and Sketch and so many more. Yes, they were able to make us move faster and be more efficient in our design experiences, but then they still required full human control. However, now AI is implemented in so many different industries. In visual design, we have tools such as DALI, which are able to create AI-generated images and help in automating the branding process for companies. Also in the UI and the user research or UX research, we have AI-assisted surveys that help consolidate your research and provide you with data-driven insights that help you create products that are able to resonate with the user needs. In project management, we have tools that are able to suggest workflow improvements to make your whole process much more efficient. Storytelling, we have ChatGPT, data analytics. We have Google Analytics that provide insights for you to implement better commendations for your business. So now that we have seen how AI has evolved from before to now, how we're implementing it in our different industries, we're going to look at how to implement it as a creative partner. So how I know so many of you are designers, are creatives, and you have used AI in your design work. Just think about it. What different tools have you implemented in your design process? These are very important because they help to make our work much more efficient and give us direction where it may be needed. So AI can help and support our design processes in so many different ways by producing real-time modifications for our designs. That way we do not have to spend so much time on certain things. And it also helps in automation of certain operations, such as asset resizing. If you have loads of images to resize, AI tools can be able to help consolidate that process and make it much faster. Also, in the process of research, when we use AI tools to help give us insights, we're able to make data-driven options and decisions. That way we are creating relevant tools. However, in as much as these tools are available to us and do help us in making our work much more efficient, there are different things that cannot be replicated. For example, as humans, as designers, we're able to strategize certain things over execution. For example, we're able to think about the user pain points. We're able to empathize with our users and recommend layouts that are more intuitive and relatable to the user. That way, we're creating a much more relevant experience. So an example would be for you to, if you use Spotify, for example, there's this DJ X. It's able to implement or augment the design. It's not replicating it. It's improving the whole experience. It's able to recommend certain recommendations that are more related to your likes and interests. That way you're able to discover much more music is according to your taste. And now that we have seen how AI is important to us, how can we move forward and create ethical AI and inclusive design? There are so many different issues that have risen up. So, for example, a biased AI, which is as a result of AI that is trained on biased data. We have accessibility risks where certain AI-generated user interfaces do not accommodate for accessibility, which is quite unfortunate, as accessibility should be the standard norm. It should not be an afterthought. We should make sure that all our different products are able to be used by all users, those with full capability and those with disabilities. So we need to make sure that all our experiences are inclusive. And also we need to strike a balance between the way we optimize or the recommendations to our users and have a balance between that and monitoring our users. Yes, we want to present options that are relatable to the user, that make sense to our users, but how do we get to do that ethically without over-monitoring our users? So thinking about this, we'll now go ahead and think about how do we go about creating AI experiences that are beneficial to our users? We will start by asking ourselves certain questions. For example, is the AI transparent? What is the type of data that was used to train this AI? Is it biased or not? How was this data handled? Does the AI respect user autonomy? We should be able to give users control over their actions in whatever products that we are creating. So we need to make that very clear and also communicate errors and uncertainty. That way we are making troubleshooting methods to our users much easier, making a much more wholesome experience for our users. And examples examples of areas where we can apply this are, for example, in chatbots and voice UIs. How can we make the conversations feel more human? We want our users to feel heard and seen. So how do we get to do that? How do we recommend things that, yes, are relevant to the user, but then we are not implementing dark patterns? We need to be very transparent and foster trusting relationship with our users. And also in creation, how much control do our users have? We need to take consideration of all this information and provide clear data to our users. So there are many ways in which AI is implemented in education. There are so many AI-powered learning platforms that now are able to adjust and adapt content based on how a student learns. An example of this would be Big Interview. It's an interview prep tool, an AI interview prep tool. So it coaches you in real life and adjusts based on your skills. So if you're an intermediate person as compared to a beginner, it will adjust based on your needs. This is very good because instead of having a standard tool for everyone, you're able to implement different ways or different capabilities to the user, and you're matching the user needs as required. And this could apply in different ways. For example, providing feedback in your design portfolios. You're all very creative people. If you had a tool that was able to provide you feedback and give you direction on where you could improve, that's a very good tool, and such tools exist. In product design, that AI tools that help students create complex CAD models instantly instead of taking too much time on that. And then in research, AI is able to summarize complex data into just formatted or short form content that someone is able to just scroll through easily and capture so much data at a glance. And then there's so many different tools that help art students or industrial design students to ideate rapidly. Therefore, it'll just spearhead and fast forward their whole process. Now that we have looked at this, I would like to challenge you and ask you, what do you think AI is going to look like in the next 10 years? I'm sure that you have noticed that so many changes have already happened now. So you can imagine how much that could change in the span of a decade. So I would just like for you to think of all the possibilities, because you are going to be very key in the changes that are going to happen. You are a key player in the changes that are happening in AI. So there's going to be adaptive UIs, those that change based on user behavior and in real time. This would be very beneficial to users because it's able to adjust based on their needs in real time instead of creating a whole new interface to adjust to each and every single user. It's going to be very life-changing. Also, in the UX research, some of us deal with so much data. This is going to help us in just, making our processes much faster and enabling us to work on other things instead of spending too much time on others, and being very resourceful with the resources that we have. We have AI-powered accessibility. We have mentioned that accessibility is very important. Each and every single type of user needs to be able to interact with our application. So can you imagine if there was automated text-to-speech, adaptive layouts, and different features that are made available so that all types of users can be able to interact with these AI tools or tools in general. There's also going to be multimodal interfaces. It's going to be a fusion of different interfaces that come together with voice, touch, virtual reality, augmented reality. That's going to see the collaboration of so many different industries and creation of things that we would not even have imagined. Also, agentic AI that actively completes tasks without relying too much on UX or UI or even human interaction. Also, in spatial design and product design, AI is going to spearhead change in so many different industries. And now that we have looked at different industries, I would like for you to ask yourself, what skills as a designer, as a creative, as someone who interacts with these tools, what skills should you develop now in order for you to stay ahead of the curve? This is a collaborative tool. How can you integrate these tools in your processes in order to make your work much more efficient, to maximize on the resources that you have, and even improve on your skills? These tools are easily available to you, and most of them, a lot of the time, are free. So I would urge you all to really take this opportunity and interact with these platforms and improve your skills. And with that, I would like to ask you with something. AI is not replacing design, it's redefining it. The future belongs to those who master the synergy between human creativity and AI's capabilities to craft meaningful, innovative, and ethical experiences. We need to be able to challenge the tools that we have so that we can make it better. You implement these tools in your craft right now? How can it make you better? Seeing ways you can implement it now is so much better, as you'll be ahead of the curve and you'll be able to understand how to integrate these tools much better. As designers, like I've said, we have the power to shape AI and how it integrates with the different tools that we use on a day-to-day basis. We need to make sure that all these experiences that we are creating are meaningful and ethical experiences. So just think about this and thank you so much. I know there's a lot of questions, or you guys might have some questions, but as Njiri said, please make sure that you post them on the chat box, as we will have a question and answer session. Thank you so much.
We have any questions on the chat? Trying to. Okay, Nicole.
No questions.
Sharleen, thank you for the session for today. We have learned about AI-powered tools in UX design to the ethical consideration, and now to come with these innovations. Thank you so much. So now we go back to our audience, and we'd love to hear your thoughts and hear from you. Any questions, you can type it in the chat box. I'll just take 2 to 3 questions. So there's one from Unanita Kaduri. She's asking, how do you balance maintaining creativity while using AI, making sure it doesn't kill creativity?
A good one.
Take the question.
Let me repeat the question. She's asking, how do you balance maintaining creativity while using AI, making it sure it doesn't kill creativity?
I would say striking a balance between where and how you integrate the tools so that you can maintain autonomy. In as much as these tools help us, I would urge you to start with a balance between the traditional methods so that you can be able to still trust your own thinking and your way of doing things, but then you're still implementing these. And then as you go on, you'll be able to trust yourself through practice and constant use of these tools. You'll be able to strike a balance between the two.
I hope that question is answered. Any other question? Still on the same question, she's asking, can you overuse, create dependency, or will it be the new normal?
I feel like with each and everything, there can be an overuse. Like I said, it's just a trial and error method with you as a designer or you as an individual to see how your design process is going. Also doing different experiments. You can try different approaches and see what works for you. And then based on the results that you receive, you can see how best to go for.
Right, I hope that's answered well. So we have another question from Dichu. He or she is asking, there are many AI tools that keep popping up. How do you keep up with the upcoming and most relevant tools without being overwhelmed in research?
I would say quality over quantity. Yes, there's so many different tools, but if you focus on a few and get really conversant with them, you'll be able to move much more forward instead of taking so much time and learning so many different ones and implementing them all at once. Just take it one step at a time.
Okay, I hope that question is answered, Ndichu. Then the third question is from Lucky. In the UX field, how are you leverage AI in a manner that allows designers to innovate without conformity? As it stands to the publicity available, AI is like one large Google, not something that is creating something new. I'm not quite sure if that's a question or a statement.
I can unmute Lucky in case you'd like to expound. Let me just find you.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 second. So that's Lucky. Sorry, guys, we had to do this mute and unmute thing just to give you all a good experience. All right, so Lucky, you can unmute and expound.
Hi. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, so I was asking in the UX field, right? I've seen you've mentioned we can leverage AI when it comes to research, but like the issue we're having is how can you leverage this AI in a way where you're kind of promoting innovation within the field, because what's happening now feels like is stagnation where everyone is doing roughly the same thing because that's what companies are looking for and that's the data used to train the AI. So as an individual, how is it that you can use this AI in a way where your product doesn't necessarily feel like it's every other product in the market, but something that's promoting innovation? I think it's clear.
I think the best way to approach this is using the tools with good measure. Yes, they are available to us, but do not delegate the entire process to them. Use it in tangent with them. So be very involved in the process and make it clear that you are the director of the whole process. That way your voice is much louder in the process of in your design process, and that way you are in control of what's going on.
Lucky, is that question answered?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I'll take the last question from Kennedy. He's asking, how can we say AI isn't replacing design when it's actually designing? The difference between a pen or a brush and AI is a brush was a tool used by the visionary. Now AI is the visionary. Please expound.
Yes, AI has been revolutionizing certain aspects in design, but there are different aspects as a designer, as a human, that you bring to the table that AI cannot necessarily replicate. You as a human being, you're able to really empathize with the users. You're able to understand their pain points and their needs. And also you'll be able to create things that feel more intuitive and relatable to the user. You're also a human being, and likely when you're creating tools or different products, maybe you're one of the target audiences, or you can relate to some of the things or the issues that the users have. That way you have an upper hand in trying to understand the needs of the user and being able to present a product that actually relates to the user and is a working solution.
Okay.
Does that answer?
Yeah.
Kennedy, is your question answered?
I've asked you to unmute, so I think you're able to unmute, Kennedy.
Thank you for the answer. What maybe I'll expound on just a bit. Sorry, not expound on, but maybe send out a thought. a thought experiment is, in human-centered design, we normally say that we refer to that terminology because we felt like when as creatives we sat down, separate from the user and not involving the user in our design process, we weren't designing wholesomely, right? But if we're getting to a place where the user now becomes the only person being involved, eventually, not now, but eventually, if it continues evolving and it gets to a place where the user is now the only person who's the human, while now majority of the part of the design is being taken up by AI, can we still call it a human-centered design process if one element of those human-centered parts is AI? So does it mean that we are corrupting the initial, should I say, vision of what human-centered design was supposed to be? Maybe not a question to be answered now, just as a thought.
Yeah. Hand up. So, first of all, thank you for expounding. And I do agree with you. I don't think it's a quick kind of answer, the question you asked. But how I see AI, since it's going nowhere, I think leveraging on the power of AI to make us more efficient and more effective. AI can make you appear strong emphasis on appear smarter, right? Because it can do research faster for you. It can highlight things you need to be keen on the research, and then it can also help you be more efficient and deliver things faster, right? In terms of, if you have a good plan, it can help it can help reduce the amount of time you get to execution, right? And so that's the value that I would say I would focus on in the moment, when it comes to like AI versus AI replacing design, instead of just AI enabling you to do more design better, right? Okay, so again, I think it's a good discussion, but I don't think it's a quick answer kind of question. Yeah. All right. Do we have more time for questions, Nicole?
We can just take one. So there's the last one from Karuki. He's asking, what are some of the AI tools you utilize in your workflow? Sharleen.
Okay, I utilize quite a few for content strategy. There's Copilot, ChatGPT for my workflow, to help me with my workflow, user flow. There's Reloom AI. Yeah, so far those are the ones that come to mind, but the rest can share if there's time.
I think, Sharleen, you can share some of the workflow AIs used in your workflow. And I think we have come to the end of the Q&A for this session. And I'll say thank you, Sharleen, for your presentation. And I'll pass it over to Joy Ann to bring the next speaker in. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Hi, everyone. My part is to introduce the next two speakers. This is Lydia and Vuyanzi. Vuyanzi is a digital product designer who enjoys crafting experiences at the intersection of technology, social psychology, and business. With 6 years of experience designing across web and mobile platforms, she has added value in supply chain, healthcare, social impact, and edtech sectors. Well, those are a lot of sectors. And also her expertise lies in balancing target audience needs with business objectives and bringing complex ideas to life through elegant and functional interfaces. So what I'm hearing from that bio is she's great at designing for humans, and at the same time making it viable for the businesses that she's designing for. Our second speaker will be Lydia. She's a product designer at Microsoft. Her journey started as a web designer and a web developer before evolving into UI UX design. And she has a passion for creating intuitive experiences. She thrives on collaboration, turning ideas into reality, and continuously growing through learning and sharing. Everyone, I'm looking forward to this presentation. They can take the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, please unmute Vuyanzi.
Sorry about that. We have been doing online calls for the longest time, but we are still dealing with please unmute. I had raised, sorry about that. I had raised my hand because I wanted to contribute to the conversation we had earlier on about AI replacing designers. And I think this is a good example, what just happened right now. We know that technology takes gradually or a significantly larger period of time to actually evolve and for us to actually understand its capabilities. In the first wave of AI, we saw that the people who are mostly affected were the low-wage workers. So we had robots in factories. And in this new wave, we now have high-wage workers that are going to be affected. And how we can look at it is we have other risks also coming up. We have climate change, we have pandemics. And maybe if we progress the adoption of AI, AI might be part of the solution for us, or it might help us actually when now climate change becomes an actual thing. If you even look at Siri and voice assistants, it's been years and we are still not there yet, at least. Siri still sounds silly sometimes. So we might be replaced, that's inevitable, but we at least have time to adapt. And that's why we have other roles like prompt engineering. I can't remember who exactly mentioned this, but they're asking how we can use AI to come up with unique solutions since everyone has access to LLMs or such models. You might have access to something, but it takes a significant it takes some level of understanding to be able to have the right prompts. That's why someone will come up with a very amazing image and you ask them what they use, they'll say Mind Journey, and you go there, you come up with some not very nice outcomes. So we have other roles also coming up, and as designers, maybe it's our call to evolve and become prompt engineers if we change. Yeah. So I'm going to go to the slides. Let me share my screen. Kindly confirm when you're able to see it.
So
I can see it.
Yep.
Great. So Lydia and I are going to walk you through designing AI and opportunities and responsibilities that we have as designers, and how we view design is like lenses. And lenses evolved from when we had optics being used just for having glasses and to correct vision, and from there we then had artists finding a way of keeping these images, rather keeping what we see through the lenses in form of images and videos. And we also then took a step further and we're able to now say we want to see what's outside the world, and that's when we now invented telescopes. And we didn't stop there. We decided, okay, we have already seen what's outside the world. Then what we want to do next is to see the smaller life that exists. And then we started magnifying elements of life, and we did this through microscopes. So this is how we see AI. AI is going to affect lots of industries, and they're going to come up with new applications of what this new technology does. We have traditional AI that has been with us for the longest time, and then we have Gen AI. For today, we can view supervised learning as the traditional one, where we were simply labeling elements and items. So for instance, designers were able to build experiences that would, for instance, look at reviews online and sentiments online about a restaurant, and then this feedback would be shared with restaurants, and they would be able to iterate and incorporate this feedback to be able to provide better services for their users. We also had designers building experiences that were able to help organizations that had websites to know which ads were relevant to which particular individuals. And then now with generative AI, we're taking a step further, and we're not just identifying objects and images. What we're doing is we're able to create new things, from images to text to music to podcasts. We can even generate video. So as a content creator, you can do this all with the power of Gen AI. And
what you've seen over the years as well is that a lot of us are tapping into mostly chat interfaces, and we limit ourselves to what we can create and the value we can bring to businesses. So we are only looking at how we can have chatbots, and but we are at a point where we need to start looking at LLMs, large language models, as developer tools and production tools. And this is when we actually start to realize the potential that it has. And what you're going to see is, initially we had, just let me take a step back and tell you a bit of a story. With technology, as we mentioned, there are very many different waves that will come and go. And initially there was a point where we would only access the internet only through the desktop. And then when we now had the capability to have this on devices, designers had now a challenge to try and see what exactly can we do with this new technology, what can we do and bring to the mobile experience now. And what we saw is that lots of startups sometimes only tapped into what was already existing. So for email, someone would come up with an email version for mobile, or someone would come up with Google Docs for mobile. But what this did is, after a few years or a year, this business were not in existence because they were mostly doing what was obvious. They were doing what the incumbent businesses were able to replicate. But then, even during this period, we also had organizations or startups like Uber and Airbnb that came up. And what they then did is, they didn't think of the obvious. They thought of something contrary to what any incumbent business would do. And I mean, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, they were not interested in putting together strangers in a house or in a vehicle, right? So this is where we come in, still in this wave of AI. We are called upon to come up and to think of ideas that incumbent businesses might not think of, or we can even build on what they already have in the market. And one thing we're going to see a lot of in future is AI agents, which are basically autonomous AI that is able to interact with websites, with humans, take actions for businesses, and then even bring the output to now the person that sent it out, bring the output. And we're going to see this mostly now. We're going to use canvas interfaces. These are not new as well. We've had canvases even in Miro, for instance. So we're going to see a lot of this, where you put in a bit of instruction for the AI, and then it goes out, scrapes information from the internet, brings the output, lays out in a canvas, shows you the steps that it took to come out with the output. And we're also going to see legends being very pronounced in this type of interfaces, because we want to see each of the agent, what they did, where they got the resources from. And we're also going to see footnotes being used and integrated. And even from the examples I'm showing you, we're basically saying that UI components that already existed, or what already existed, like footnotes. Footnotes have been around since the invention of books, but we're going to see more of those in user interfaces. Canvas have been around as well. So we're going to leverage on legacy systems, what worked during that time, and then build on top of that. And one thing that's going to be obvious again is we're constantly going to have the human in the loop interacting with the output, and also fine-tuning and prompting. And this is where I said again, you can be a prompt engineer, ensuring that the output is different from what someone else would generate. And this is an actual role, and there are courses as well right now that you can take to actually become a prompt engineer. So yeah, maybe you can start evolving now before AI catches up with your role. Yeah, so a good example of well, it's not the only example, but this is one of them that I found, which is Kamloop, and it does exactly what I mentioned in hindsight. It goes out, scrapes out information from the internet, different agents doing this. So this agent will go and look at what document in your organization, and another one will go and scrape out information from the website, bring all this in a canvas, and then you get to visually see all the steps that it took. So this is what's happening in this, depicted in this video. What you're also going to see a lot of is what I already mentioned, footnotes. And a good platform that incorporates this is Copilot. I love how they display this inline references, as you can see on the short video here. So you have inline references showing exactly where the fragmented information is coming from, and you can always click on the links to be able to learn more about this. This practice is borrowing from how we already consume information at the moment. So right now, or before we had Copilot incorporating this inline references, you'd see as a human and you working on a document, you'll go to Google and you'll search for a particular topic. And once you search for it, you'll get a list of references. So those list of references, that's where we're borrowing that from, and we're now having these inline references. How can you create your own AI agent? It's actually very easy. There are a couple of tools. One that I really like is Copilot, and it allows you to customize it however you want. And the people in your organization can also be able to use the agent that you create. Another thing you're going to see a lot of is adaptive interfaces. I have my reservation about this because as humans, we love consistency, and I'm not certain how we would react when the interfaces constantly changes based on the user need. And a good example that of a software that actually came up that I saw was Zuni. I believe this is Zuni. So what Zuni does is it categorizes your email from the highest priority to the one that needs less of your attention. And based on the email, the content, it then generates predefined prompts that you can try, not really normal prompts like text. So the UI changes based on the content, and the content is the email. So if that email requires you to respond with a question, the interface that you'll interact with is different. But if the email requires you to maybe respond with a Google Doc, maybe someone reached out and requested you to share a Google Doc that you had worked on, then this interface will change by already pulling the document this person is referencing or this person needs, putting it right there, and also drafting a few potential responses to that. So maybe to bring it home a bit, if you can think of Word document, you see Word document right now, we have the toolbar. Yeah, we have the toolbar that has multiple actions at the top. And what would potentially happen if this adaptive interfaces is something users end up liking, not me, but if other people would like it, what would happen is that because with large language models, we're able to predict the actions that a user takes constantly, and based on that we can then only show them the tools they need to use, and then we abstract the ones that they don't often use. So what this means is if the problem of this is when you come back the next time and you want to use a new tool, then you'd have to still interact with this AI first and ask, hey, where did you hide this action, where can I get it? Yeah, and we are going to see a lot of interfaces coming up that are going beyond just the normal chat UIs and chatbots. And I would honestly, as product people, I believe our biggest role at the moment is to come up with ideas that are not necessarily chat related. And we can do this by ensuring that we are working closely with experts, Gen AI experts, to see what the capabilities of this technology is, so that we're not limiting it and just saying, oh, we need a chatbot for this, or we need the very basic things that can be easily replicated by any organization. Yeah, I already mentioned this. And one interesting thing about adaptive interfaces is that the input is the content, and then the output is the interface interacting with the content. So the input is the email, and then the output from the LLM is the user interface interacting with it, which, as you can see, it's already complex, as even I'm having a challenge saying that out. So this just shows us the technology is complex, and it seems like there's a lot we can do and new experiences that we need to map out and think about. Yeah, this is just the design challenges that I mentioned. Predictability, people appreciate knowing where each of the actions are often, and shifting actions around might not be the best experience. We also have the ability to come up with developer tools, and I'm sure as I speak like this, I'm hoping that you're seeing that there's opportunity for us to create with Gen AI, and not necessarily just saying, well, the world is ending, AI is taking over, my job will be redundant, and I need to find another career path. We are at a place where we still need to think, and this thing. And LLMs, again, it's all about prompting and tuning, and who's going to prompt and tune? that could definitely and it should be us. What you're going to see again, going back to these production tools, is what I've seen and I appreciate is how we're trading off fidelity for latency. So a good example is Agile. What you're seeing here, what they did is they are splitting the process for the Gen AI to produce the output. They're splitting it in sections, so they also manage your expectations. And the first step is you submit a voice recording, or rather video of you speaking for 2 minutes, and that is then what the LLM uses to train itself, and that will create the avatar. So they'll take the image of yourself and the hand movement from the video that you submit, and then you'll have to wait for 10 hours for them to be able to create your avatar. But if you want to use an avatar that already exists in their platform, what happens is they will allow you to pull the script from an existing website, an article maybe, so you share the link, or you can type out the script that you want. And as you all through this process, I wish I can pause it, you can see that this face of the avatar is blurred out. The reason it's blurred out is because they're trading off fidelity for latency. And what that means is they don't want to show you an end product that is not high quality, or that will make you feel like, oh, this Gen AI is not working as effective, so I'll leave it and try something else. They want you to first work on the script. That should be your attention at this point. Once you're done with the script, then you'll submit and enable it to generate the video, and it will take 12 hours. They tell you it takes 12 hours. Then you'll get the copy. Now they will email you the copy of the final video that you can then submit, or you can still fine tune and change. You can still fine tune and change. And at this point, and the final video, now the video will not be blurred. And what this does is the LLM is ensuring that the script aligns to the lip movement of the avatar. So I thought that was brilliant to see. I already pointed out opportunities for us to be prompt engineers. So yeah, there are lots of opportunities for us in design. I'll hand it over to Lydia. No, back to you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vuyanzi. That was an amazing presentation. Lydia, are you next?
Yes. So I was wondering if you're going to take questions first, or should I just...
I think continue.
Yeah.
Take questions right after. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
As in the slides, the actual slide, right?
Yes. Actual slides.
Okay, good. So thank you for this opportunity. So Sharleen and Vuyanzi have shared what will change. So I'm here to just give reassurance of what will not change. And that's our responsibility as designers in shaping the future of AI. So even as AI advances in its capabilities, our responsibility will still remain the same. So our responsibility will be to still ensure that the technology is approachable, useful, and provides value. So how will it do this, or how will it continue to do this? By promoting control, personalizing digital experiences, and building trust and understanding. So I'll go through each of these points with examples. So in the area of promoting action and control, it's about empowering users to take action and make decisions. So in the case of Firefly, for those who've used Firefly text-to-image generator, it provides you with the option of a gallery and a prompt generator, as you can see up here. So instead of serving users with a blank canvas, which can be intimidating and delay action, Firefly presents the user with a gallery as a starting point on which they can build upon. So if you're a pro at generating or at writing prompts, you can choose the generate prompt. But to just foster that fast decision making and just testing out ideas, you can start with the gallery. So in this case, there are multiple images here. Let's say we choose this green cat. So immediately you're met with the prompt that was used to generate this, so you can at least easily understand how it was generated. But you also have control in terms of you'll have presets on the side, presets and parameters available for refining the generated results. So this creates a sense of ownership and builds a deeper connection between the user and the tool, and encourages people of all skills levels to experiment. So once you make tweaks on these parameters given, you can generate something new, something fresh, and this can help you make decisions faster, generate ideas, instead of just sitting there blank and wondering, okay, how do I enter a prompt? Do I have the right skills? So this part of AI won't change. It is our responsibility as designers to ensure people can still take action quickly and make decisions while still having control. On the second point of personalizing and contextualizing experiences, as designers, we must understand that users want tailored contextualized experiences, meaning that the product recognizes the environment, their needs and situations, and adapts the experience to fit them. So I know Sharleen had mentioned Spotify, and I'm just going to reiterate on that. So with Spotify, there's Spotify DJ and Spotify playlist, where you can enter a prompt. You can try out a prompt and then run the prompt and see what Spotify will generate. And how it curates this playlist is it looks at your listening behavior and also considers your music tastes. The same thing with the Spotify DJ. It chooses songs for you based on your listening behavior and preferences and styles. So that's something that will still remain the same, that people can still have personalization in these tools and not just feel like they've lost control. A second example is on Copilot. So we've had a lot today on Copilot. So what I'm covering is on Outlook. Excuse me. So Outlook in Copilot in Outlook drafts your email responses based on your past conversations with the person you're emailing, and adapts your tone and the language to match the user's style, making that conversation feel more natural. So let me just give you an example. So in this case, we have an email and this person is trying to reply. So what they can do is either choose to enter their reply, or they can choose to use Copilot here. So Copilot gives them a couple of suggestions on what to reply, or they can choose to enter a custom prompt. And in this case, they can ask Copilot questions of what to generate. So in this case, the user is asking Copilot, would you summarize this email thread and also offer an alternative answer? So based on that, the user will type the prompt and then click on generate. And once they click on generate, Copilot will draft a response. And through this response, as you can see here, they can either use it as is or they can tweak it. They can choose to discard it or retry Copilot again and get a different response. So that is how we create personalization in this context. And then on the last point, it's about building trust and understanding. So we have to, as designers, maintain transparency in what we build. So we have to ensure that the AI that we build is transparent, reliable, and user-friendly. So we should focus on building experiences that empathize with the user, so the user can make sense of what's happening and why. So we're not just leaving them like that and just asking them to believe what the AI is generating. We still have to build that comfort and trust in our products. So this way we will reinforce to the user that they're still in charge of their final decisions. So let's have a look at the Grammarly's AI writing assistant. It highlights suggested edits and explains the reasoning behind them, ensuring there's transparency and the user can trust its recommendations. So you're not actually forcing the user to take your recommendations, but you're giving them the option to either accept it or reject it. So in this case, we have a paper here. So this person was writing about the psychology of decision making, and they highlighted a paragraph and decided to use Grammarly's AI assistant to get improvements on the ideas. So you click on give me some improvements, and then Grammarly will generate that. And then the second example on the same is, again, they chose a paragraph and they asked Grammarly to give them a counter argument. So give me some opposing arguments on this, give me some opposing thoughts. So it helps you to give you a broader perspective. So you're not limited to what you wrote yourself, but you kind of have a partner to help you just sharpen up your writing. So that's what the user did here. And then lastly, what they used the Grammarly for was also for the common spelling and grammar check. But the difference here is on the right here, as you can see, yes, it gives you the suggestions, but it also gives you the reasoning behind it. So it's not just saying, okay, take my recommendations, but it's also explaining how it got here. And yeah, so that's Grammarly's AI assistant. So with that short presentation, just like to summarize that our responsibility of ensuring that the technology is approachable, useful, and provides value remains the same, regardless of whether AI is 10 years from now, how far it grows, how far it scales. I believe these responsibilities will remain the same, and we will achieve that by promoting action and control, personalizing experiences, and building trust and understanding. And with that, thank you for listening, and can continue the conversations with us online. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lydia. Thank you, Vuyanzi, for that wonderful presentation. And for me, I've been enlightened just to learning how we can use AI to collaborate in our design processes. Do we have questions for Vuyanzi and Lydia? You can post your questions on the chat, and then we can read them out for them so that they can answer. We have a question here from Nicole. She asks, can AI-generated designs truly reflect cultural nuances, or is this something that requires a designer's intuition and cultural sensitivity? I think, Vuyanzi or Lydia, you can, take it up. I can repeat the question in case you didn't hear it.
Can I generate? Yeah, I believe this is where prompt engineering will come in that we need still that person who is able to fine tune whatever the LLM's output is to be able to actually ensure that it's also being sensitive in regards to the cultural aspect of whatever it is you're building. If it's an image, you have to fine tune it. And this is where now we have these new roles coming up, or even you as a designer, you still have to fine tune it. And that's where you'll have different outputs from people using the same tool. So yes, Gen AI does have the capabilities to do this, but you need to know how to do it to be able to use the AI tools effectively.
Okay. Lydia, you want to add on to it? In case you have anything
I don't think AI will figure it out by itself. As Vuyanzi said, there has to be a human in between there to make sure that it's not hallucinating, because if you leave it like that, it will just create its own thing, which may be offensive to different types of cultures. So yeah, there's still room for a human to intervene in the process. So yeah.
I think on the same topic, you remember what the demo we just saw on Copilot, creating the email and all of that? Like a UX designer had to sit down and think about the experience of a user who's trying to respond quickly, right? And so when you start looking at design as a problem-solving discipline versus as a visual discipline or like as a structured discipline, then design will not go away in the presence of AI, right? It just becomes stronger and faster, in my opinion, because it's problem solving, and a designer has to sit and think the strength and value of AI in that process, to make it easier for the user in the end. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on the chat? You can please post your questions, or we can unmute you for you to just say your question.
I also had asked what are the potential user behavior changes that we foresee in the next decade that might influence how to prepare for the AI shift in design. For example, if we look at design again as a problem solver, what are user behaviors we foresee in any discipline? Really, it doesn't have to be like in tech or the disciplines that we know to discuss design. What are the user behaviors that will change? Do we have an idea of this, Vuyanzi and Lydia?
I guess you have to unmute them.
Who am I muting?
Yeah.
Did we answer? All right, fine. 1 second. So Lydia, you're unmuted. So
Yes.
yeah, I'm unmuting Vuyanzi now.
Do we repeat the question for you? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's about user behavior, right?
Yes.
Can we predict for the next decade what user behaviors will change? For example, we have TikTok now, and it significantly reduced our attention span. Are there things currently going on in our world that will predict our user behavior in a decade or less?
I think there'll be changes. Patience is something that I've seen people are changing, not really. You don't want to think through things, you just want it to be generated. But as we've shared, I think Sharleen and Vuyanzi have covered, we still need to make decisions on what's being generated. As much as it's going to be a fast process, like you can just type in something or speak to the device, you still have to make the decision if whatever has been generated is of quality and of good use. Yeah. So for me, I think the behavior, yes, it will be, people want it as quickly as yesterday, but yeah, this decision still remains on you, the human being.
So control stays with the user.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm also a bit scared that we might end up losing our creativity as humans if we over rely on this. And this is why you start to see articles or even user interface. Okay, user interfaces have there's a lot we can borrow from, but a lot of articles, for instance, you can always tell it's an AI at the back that generated this. But then what stands out is where you have the human aspects, apart from just generating this content, where you add your touch as a human. But we're getting so lazy where we don't even want to change anything. We just get the output, share it out. And that also now puts us in a place where now our roles might even become redundant more now, because if your employer sees that you're over reliant on this tool and you're not even using what makes you unique as an individual, it's like you're not even focusing on actual users anymore. And one thing you need to know as well, but let me just point this out a bit. The difference between generative AI and the traditional AI is that with Gen AI, it's using data, massive data, not just from your organization, but from the internet, like from Earth. You can see it as it's using data from Earth. So we can't generalize problems and say that all the problems from Earth should be in this one output. That's where fine-tuning and prompting comes in. So once you understand that all the information that the AI tool will give you is from the internet, which is vast, and you now have to still ensure that the LLM understands. So all this information is from Earth. What do you want? I'm in health sector, fine tune it for me. I'm in education, fine tune it for me. I'm in finance, fine tune it for me. So yeah, I would say for us as designers, it's very important for us to at least have close proximity with experts who actually understand the capabilities of LLM. You don't need to be technical, but just understanding in hindsight what this tool can do, and then ensuring that you still have your creative aspect, what makes you unique as a creative person, and integrate it in whatever the output is. I think that would be good.
I can see you have your hand up.
Yeah.
Jay.
Yeah, my physical hand up. Yeah. Another thing that I foresee happening, to be honest, is if we're getting AI that makes you that changes UI according to every response that a user gets, then that means that design is slowly shifting more to UX than UI, right? Understanding how to create interfaces, the right colors, the right structure, the right imagery, and all of that is great. But AI doesn't need to think too much to do that. It just needs an instruction, right? It needs an instruction of, hey, my design system is in these codes, color codes. My design system uses this imagery in these proportions and all of that, right? So if AI can do that for you, then what is design? So design becomes problem solving. Do that thing that AI still needs intuition, context, all of that. Do that thing, and then that becomes design. And then you combine it with AI and superstar. Okay.
I think you've answered this question in a way. So the question from Eve is, how do we see AI improve inclusive design and be incorporated in everyday design? I don't know, you've answered it in a way, but Vuyanzi, you can elaborate or you can add on to it.
I'd also like to unmute Eve just to understand what you meant by everyday design. Yeah. Like what, let me see. Let me find you first. This process, guys, like this unmuting, it's annoying. Actually, okay. Cool. I think you can speak now, Eve.
Hi, Jerry. Hi, Tim. So everyday design is, if I'm thinking about high contrast, or probably like in terms of contrast for people who are visually impaired, or okay, like that's just an example. So how can we incorporate AI in that example, for instance? Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone want to answer quickly?
I will try and answer what I think might happen. A couple of times for instance, in a startup or big organizations, you find that we designers, after the handoff, we become busy and move on to the next task. And sometimes we don't check what has been implemented before it's rolled out to actual users. And then once it's rolled out, now it's already in the hands of the users, then you start to see, oh, this is not the right color. It's not meeting the accessibility guidelines that we are enforcing or what we want people to see. So if there would be like a tool in the middle there when you're doing the handover, or even before something goes live to actual users, it checks and ensures that all the accessibility and inclusivity aspects of the tool you're building has been incorporated, and it's exactly what has been designed. This is potentially what we should be doing as product people, but that's not always the case, because there are lots of tools that you're building on a daily basis. So we assume that the designs are up to date and the engineers will pick it up and develop. And then once it's already in the hands of the user, that's when you start to see the discrepancies. So maybe there could be a layer where this is just an AI agent that looks at the final output and what is in design. It's like a middle ground, a middle agent, something like this. I'm not certain that answers you, but it's what I was thinking of at the beginning of the week.
Yeah, I'd say AI improves inclusive design by improving our lives. I assume inclusive design, you mean people who have disabilities of some sort. So yeah, it's improving our lives. Like people with who are hearing impaired can use AI enabled like hearing aids, which controls the levels of the noise, as opposed to a while back where the tradition was if you go to see a hearing doctor, it's being optimized in a room that's not really reflective of the environment outside. So by the time you leave, actually had a friend who had that problem. So by the time it was tweaked and then they left the doctor's office, the hearing aid was just too loud. So it couldn't reduce the levels, it couldn't control the levels, so he stopped using it. But with AI, it's going to be adapted to the environment. So yeah, I think it's improving our lives of people with disabilities, or the less fortunate, or people with color blindness or something. Yeah.
And also with inclusive design, sometimes it's good to remind ourselves that it doesn't always mean like people who are abled differently. Sometimes it's also reduced ability in the moment. So if you're carrying a lot of like goods in your hands, you have reduced ability. So then how would you implement a task? Like, for example, when I'm in my house, I'll be like, Siri, like maybe play that other song, or like, what's the time, or like send a message to someone. That's also like a way that AI helps with daily activities. So I hope that that also helps. I don't foresee that changing, to be honest. I think it will, more things will actually bring in that ease in sectors of our lives. Yeah.
Okay. We have one more question. How will AI evolving affect design titles and roles?
Yeah. I would like to have a comment, but I want this to be a discussion and not just me answering the question. So, number one, you see how design moved from, oh, now I'm a web designer. We used to call ourselves web designer. And then it moved to UX and UI. And then now it's kind of like, I'm a UX, UI designer, or I'm a product designer. Yeah. And then it became, it's just the titles have improved, not improved, evolved. And then I genuinely think we're going to go back to just designer. Like anything, anything before designer will leave, because then it becomes, for example, the industry of software as a service, as we know it, is changing just because we have agentic AI now. So then no one, not no one, but the number of people asking someone to design a website, design a software that's mostly going to be used on web is going to significantly reduce, right? But then what people will be looking for is design a tool that can use AI to solve a certain problem, right? So then in that moment, you cease to become a web designer or a mobile designer, right? Then you're just a designer who's solving a problem, right? So that's one of the ways that I think titles will change. It will just simplify back to design. I would love to hear your thoughts. Anyone else? You can also request to be unmuted. Yep. Yes,
For me, I think, yeah. For me, I think it will be a hybrid of skills coming together. So right now you're UI UX, maybe you'll be UI UX in AI or something. So I think it's about stacking up skills and evolving with the time so that you stay relevant as a designer. Yeah.
Personally, in all honesty, I do not know. I'm at a place where I'm not certain. I don't want to lie that I know. I was messing around with the idea of having remote colleagues. So that's how I would see the agents that are helping me in my task. It's like I have small mini demigods assisting me in the different tasks. But how my title would change, I'm not certain, in all honesty. I don't know. I might just have assistants, lots of assistants that my organization isn't allowing me to have. So if my organization pays for all these agents, then it means I am the boss of these agents and I get to be the one determining the output. But still, I would have work. I know I would have work, but what my title would look like, I'm not certain.
That's an honest review. Thank you for that. Who else? Vuyanzi, you keep muting yourself. You know I'll keep looking. Mute.
Yeah, because the questions are really tough, and I'm like, I honestly do not know. Like most of we are in a limbo, and I don't want to be here saying our jobs will not be taken away because lots of experts are not certain of that as well. And yeah, but I really love the audience and the questions that they're asking. That things that I've also been trying to answer by myself. So I'm also keen to hear what everyone else their opinions on the matter.
Vuyanzi, we have a question directed to you. It says, in your experience, what challenges have you faced when integrating AI into creative processes, especially in terms of balancing technology with original human inputs?
Have you faced when integrating AI into creative process? I'll give an example of one tool that I worked on that I really loved and I'm really proud of. It's an AI tool. And I hope this would indirectly answer you. So one of the challenges that lots of people do not understand what AI is and its capabilities, or some of us don't care enough to know what AI is. So the reason I'm saying this is the tool that I built, it was for underserved communities. And lots of us, even in Nairobi, for instance, or those of us who are tech savvy, we are still trying to understand this new technology. But the challenge we had was we're now building for a community that honestly is not tech savvy already as it is. We are giving them smartphones for the first time, and then we're now telling them, hey, there's AI in it. So we had to find a way of striking a balance between genuinely providing value so that they see the value. Then we can tell them, hey, do you know that this is not a human actually interacting or giving you the output that you're using to actually teach and things like this. So what challenges have I experienced during integrate in my creative process? I would go to AI. I use ChatGPT or Copilot to actually think about the features I should build. And the recommendations that I was getting were mostly targeted towards users who are already tech savvy, right? So we're still not, even in the internet, we don't have a lot of content that tells you how to design for people who are using smartphones for the first time. So as we said, LLMs learn from information not just sitting in your repository but in the internet as well. But even in the internet, we don't have enough data on how to build for these people. So when I would try and prompt the ChatGPT and Copilot at the time for it to recommend features for me, it was recommending things that I would ideally not see working for this segment of users. So that was a huge challenge, and it took us a significantly long period of time to decide, okay, so these are our users, we understand them better. These are the features that everyone else is building in the sector. How can we ensure that our users also enjoy to some level these new features and this new technology while abstracting the complexity of what we were doing? So yeah, I'm not sure that answers you, but the challenge was that the information we were getting from ChatGPT was not entirely informing what we were building as a creative person. So as you can see, we still had to think. We still had to think. And at the end of the day, I think we're going to iterate on this. Thinking is still meant to be part of the process. The output is there, but you just don't go one-on-one and build it because Copilot is brilliant and it's telling you to have a chatbot for a teacher in the village. Surely, I mean, it might work. It might work and it could have worked, but it was not also very inventive and a good use of our time to build a chatbot, because these are already teachers who they felt like we were giving them more work by building a tool for remedial activities, and now you're telling them to interact with a chatbot to ask it questions and things like this. That would have definitely not worked. So yeah, hopefully that answers you.
I'd like to chip in to the conversation you were having earlier about how our roles would change. I feel like now maybe we would be tasked to be more multidisciplinary, like grasp more or take on more roles. Like Vuyanzi said, in as much as these tools exist, you also need to know how to prompt them. So maybe blending your creativity with knowing how to prompt them. Also behavioral science and understanding how or what the user needs. So just you have to maybe delve into different areas and become a multidisciplinary person in order to understand how to use the tools and create better stuff. Yes.
Awesome. Probably we have like 9 minutes to go. Any other question that someone might have? One last question or discussion or comment.
Yeah, maybe like as for AI taking our jobs, I know it's a real concern. I don't want to act like it's not a concern. It is a real concern. But to be honest, I don't think we are at the flipping point yet. I don't think we are. AI is still so mysterious to a lot of industries. And I would say as designers, the best way to position yourself at this time before if the rest of the world catches up is to understand how to use AI to solve a problem. So then in 3 or 4 years, if you're the kind of designer that is top notch at your job and you also understand how to work with AI, you will survive whatever is coming, right? Not to say that doom is coming. Doom might not come, actually. It might be the opposite, right? So who knows? But then you will survive evolving. Right. So I would say we're not at the tipping point yet. We're not gonna be there for the next 2, 3, 4 years. If you ask me, industries are still catching up. The only people who are at the top right now are big tech. And big tech is like, especially in Africa, big tech is not a very big percentage, right? And to be honest, not just Africa, across. So there's so many other things happening. There's so many other industries, and we just need to like prepare for that, for demystifying and allowing AI into this new world. There's a question, or is it a comment?
I think it's a comment. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So for Ndichu, the last question, which is how to get more involved with us or like join UX Kitchen, maybe just drop us an email at Tony. Help me drop our email address on the chat. Just drop us an email and maybe we can have a chat sometime. Just understand like which industry you're in, how you can help out, and all that. And then for karaoke, I have a feeling we've answered that question, but I don't know. Have we, Tony?
Let me see.
Yeah. It's how can designers balance AI automation with
Yes.
creativity?
Yes. I think Sharleen answered that at the
Yes.
beginning.
Yeah, but if you come in late, I mean, it doesn't hurt since we have 5 minutes. Sharleen, do you mind just walking through that response? Let me ask you to unmute.
Yeah, the question is how can designers balance automation with creativity? I'd say, first of all, do not just delegate the whole entire process to AI. Make sure that you are creating in tangent with the tool. That way you also understand the direction that the project is going. Also, make sure that your voice stands out. You are the director of whatever is happening. So make sure that you're not also over-reliant on the tool. Your work or your authentic way of approach is still very existent. And, because you're very capable as a designer. This is just a tool that's helping you in accomplishing this task. So do not just fully delegate that onto the tool. Make sure that you're working in collaboration with it.
Yeah,
I'm
and this
not.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Gwen.
Sorry, and I'm not sure if we've said this enough, but I feel like I have been thinking more in the recent years than I have ever done as a designer, because I'm constantly, it's like I'm a mouse on that wheel. I'm like, if I don't think of a brilliant idea, my company will be first out and I'll be out of a job. So I think our role as designers is, and this will slightly touch on also the question that Barasa has asked, we should not just keep on thinking of chatbots. Those have been in existence for the longest time. And don't try and build something that the incumbent businesses have already had, like an email that does this. That email, we already have it in Outlook. We'll just take that. Just think of something like, you see how Uber came up when you now had the capabilities to build apps on devices. Uber did not think of what's already existing on desktop and then now let's bring it on mobile. That's what everyone else is thinking of. And in all honesty, I don't know what the brightest idea is going to be, but we're going to see lots of startups emerging with brilliant ideas. And I think these brilliant ideas are now going to come to us. So there's a lot of thinking that still has to go, or we still have to do, and we are actually required to do. So that's one way to actually remain relevant, to think. Everyone else is using these tools, but we are required to think what these tools are meant to do.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And also just to add to that, AI is really good at solutions and it's really shitty at problems. So if you can connect to the problem, because in the problem space, that's where you find context, that's where you find intuition, that's where you find personas, real life personas going through that challenge. That's where you find that. And so as a designer, if you can connect to the problem space and then use AI more into the solution space, then I think you will be well positioned and you can bring those two together quite well. Yeah. Do you have any more questions? I hope that was a good response for you, Karaoke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I just want to highlight that we've been recording the meeting. So in case you want to come back and look at the conversations and the discussions that we've had, I think much later on we'll post it on our YouTube. So you can go there and even subscribe to our YouTube. And if you have friends who will be enlightened by this discussion, they can follow us on our socials. We are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, and on YouTube. And even just browse through YouTube, man. We have lots of videos there that they can help you in your design journey. So feel free to join and subscribe and share with your friends, designer friends. Yeah.
Rajay, thank you for sharing our social platforms on the chat. One thing that I also wanted to announce was Moringa does have a session. I wanted to say real life. Then I remembered what I meant is they have an in-person. It's because of my eyes in my head. Anyway, yeah, Moringa does have a session coming up on the 22nd of March. I think it's on a Saturday. The session is called Concept to Creation, and they've huddled like about 4 really good designers. There's service design, there's UX design. I think I'm missing 2, but like they have like a really good chat going on Saturday, the 22nd of March. It's gonna be in the school itself on Gong Road. So if you're available, just pull through. And then I think there's a poster on that, Tony. If you could share that on the chat in case people want to have a look, that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, just to close, and for our speakers of the day and our volunteers, please remain on the call after we are done. But just to close, I think this has been really, really good. I loved the discussion, loved the conversation. Thank you to our speakers for preparing really well for what to present. Thank you to our attendants for all the good questions and for even just showing up and making time. Yeah. If you have any questions about UX Kitchen, just email us or like chat us on socials, and we'll be sure to answer where we can. All right, and that is the end of our webinar. I hope you had a good time, and see you on the next one.